adopting AI, making the whole statement of learn fast, fail fast sort of a thing into a reality, using ChatGPT or any such tools is a great way of figuring out those alternatives or brainstorming as well.
As a product manager, what are those fundamental perspectives that a product manager has to think before they run towards a solution?
But as a product manager, you understand every nuance from starting to the end. If you are building a product, better be able to sell it. E-commerce product manager, I'm a fintech product manager. Core skills that you are learning as a product manager is more or less the same. The problem is worth solving, right approach, and value being created out of it from a business sense.
Welcome to another episode. I'm Darshan Suthar. I have Sriharsha with me for super engaging conversation. Sriharsha is the director of PM at Zee Entertainment and alumnus of IIM Mumbai and NIT Surat. He has experience in media OTT, e-commerce and supply chain, from driving transformations at Bajaj Auto, Asian Paints to crafting AI-powered solutions like Gen AI-driven OTT platforms and automated subtitling tools. In this episode, we dive into the difference between being a PM for B2B versus B2C products, practical AI use cases and workflows for PM, overcoming challenges in AI adoption, the future of AI-first product development, trends in content consumption, and what he values when hiring senior product managers. If you are eager to leverage AI to elevate your product game, this episode is packed with all the actionables that you might look for. So don't forget to subscribe. Your support really helps us invite inspiring guests like Harsha. Let's jump in and hear from Harsha. Hey, hi Harsha. Thanks for joining today. It's pleasure having you.
Hey, thanks Dashath for the opportunity. Look forward for the conversation.
So Harsha, I think we can start with the basic understanding of the product development here, right? In the any product company, there is a role called product management, right? Their job is to make sure they find a good problem statement, work upon it, and deliver the result at the end, right? Which should be used by users, right? Now we have another layer on top, which is B2B and B2C. There are also users, there are also companies and things like that, right? As a product manager, what are those fundamental perspectives that a product manager has to think before they run towards the solution, problem statement, talk to their team, and so on?
Perfect. So the key aspect to understand is firstly what is the product that they are trying to solve or building per se, right? Many people have this misconception. Let's say if it is Amazon, then it is an e-commerce website which is the product, which
Right.
isn't the case ideally. The underlying product that you're actually selling is one of the physical goods that are being delivered to your
The whole
premises.
logistics system, let's
The
say.
logistics system or the physical products itself, let's say if you're ordering shoes, then
Hmm.
those shoes being delivered is what the customer is looking for. The product
Absolutely.
for the customer is not Amazon or anything. It is the set of shoes that he or she ordered. Now, in
Hmm.
case of OTT, it is the content that they are looking for that's
Hmm.
more important than anything else. If the experience obviously plays a huge role, no questions about it.
Yeah.
But the point that I'm trying to put across is knowing what is the customer coming for is very much essential. That way,
Correct.
you understand whether you are empowering him or her to get to that product faster, better, cheaper,
Hmm.
or your solution itself is the product. So let's say WhatsApp.
Hmm.
WhatsApp is a case where there is no physical product at all. It's
Correct.
just a digital product, and they are coming for using that product. You can say the network effect as one of the levers, but at the end of the day, it's a pure play digital product. There is no physical role as such, right?
Absolutely.
So the as a product manager, you should have this understanding. Firstly, what is my product, whether it is a fully digital product and am I working on it end to end as such, or there is a physical aspect to it or a delivery aspect to it as well,
So
which
is
needs to be taken into account.
Yeah. So is it fair to say that the value delivery of this entire conversion is your real product, right?
Exactly. So
Hmm.
the most important thing is, are you solving a problem for the consumer, or are you giving them some value which is not just solving a problem, but it is maybe an entertainment also is
Hmm.
it might not be a problem for him or her,
Right.
but it is more important that they get that sense of being, or a sense of passing the time, or sense of enjoyment of sorts out of the content that you are delivering to them. The
Correct.
understanding that nuance is very important. Most of the time what I see is people jump on to think that, okay, I'm a e-commerce product manager, I'm a fintech product manager, True, you are a domain expert in that, no doubt about it.
Correct.
But at the end of the day, the underlying core skills that you are learning as a product manager is more or less the same. It can
Hmm.
be cross applied as well. And
Yeah.
more importantly, you should not think that you are the final one who is doing everything, but you are an orchestrator of sorts who is
Hmm.
trying to deliver that value at for the consumers at the end of the day.
Makes sense, makes sense. But if that's the case, right? I understand that irrespective of your domain expertise, right? I mean, the remain product fundamentals remain same, right?
Correct.
For you to develop any product and deliver the solution. But then, what is significantly changing at the ground level in your daily workflow as a product manager when you work in a B2C side of the problem statements and the B2B side of problem statements? To make it very concrete, right? Let's take an example for, as you said, OTT for the B2C side and some enterprise companies, right, for the B2B side. So
Sure.
that will help us understand better.
Sure. So let me put it this way, right? The B2C or B2B sides,
Hmm.
in the B2B side, the product managers are trying to sell the product to the customers as well,
Correct.
right? They are part of the pre-sales calls, they are part of the solutioning calls with the customers, so on and so forth, and they're trying to fit the product for the customer and how
Hmm.
it works and how it gets adopted over time.
Right.
In case of B2C, you actually don't have that opportunity of seeing everything being adopted as such. You obviously monitor the metrics and all. You
Correct.
would be speaking with few customers, reaching out to them, getting the feedback and understanding what is happening on the ground, or what
Hmm.
is that they are liking, not liking, so on and so forth, as a feedback loop. But you are not seeing him or her actually sitting beside them, the adoption, how it is happening per se.
Yeah.
So you are
Yeah.
a lot more dependent upon data metrics or the product analytic tools to
Correct.
understand what the customer is looking for. While in case of B2B, still the data metrics all obviously helps Mixpanel and all the great tools out there to use. But
Hmm.
it is more anecdotal scenarios that you would be focusing upon. You are focusing more on what my customer is actually doing. You are observing him or her do those activities. Here, you would do for, let's say, 10 customers, but you actually have a scale of 10 million customers. Here, you will do for, let's say, 10 customers, you have a scale of 100 customers or 200 customers. That way, you understand the nuances much deeper in few scenarios. Here, you're
Right.
trying to make it more generic over time, but personalization as a layer comes on top of it. Now, on ground challenges or on ground variations per se is majorly to do with your focus on the matrices or the funnels that you keep tracking day in and day out. But here it is more to do with the workflow completions that you are looking at.
Right.
How much is that going to add value per se? So that's the major this thing. Here you're looking at your funnels of every customer, seeing every customer's data flow. While
Hmm.
here you're looking at the process conversions or the outcomes that these days you would be hearing outcome as a service as a concept that's
Yeah.
coming up as well. So the focus over there is more to do with the outcomes for the customers.
Right, right. So on the B2C side, it's more to do with the scale, and on the B2B side, it's
Correct.
more to do with job to be done, let's say.
Exactly.
Right?
Absolutely correct.
As a product manager, right? Let's say I'm working in a relatively mid size or the growth size of a company, right? And I need to decide as my next role to go to a B2C company or a B2B company, right? I'm not saying that any of them is bad or good to work with. They have their
Correct.
own nuances, right? What are those things that will be coming as a challenge if you're working in a B2C? And what are those things comes as a challenge when you're working in a B2B side as
Sure.
a product manager particularly?
Absolutely. So one is the biggest thing that I have seen across people when I spoke to them is the misunderstanding of the role of product managers as such, which is
Hmm.
in B2C, unless you are in a 0 to 1 journey or 1 to 10 also, beyond
Hmm.
that, it is predominantly a category led initiative, or it is majorly business driven, sales driven, so on and so forth.
Correct.
Not to say that product has no role to play in it. Obviously, there is huge value that product teams put in, but you are enabling or empowering someone to actually deliver things.
Correct.
While in case of B2B, you still have that thing coming into play, but still at the end of the day, you're creating a digital product by itself. And
Hmm.
you are trying to map the end-to-end process flows for the customers and figure out what is that they are working on and trying to standardize or platformatize it per se. In case of B2C, you people tend to have this misconception that, hey, I am increasing everything, the customers are just coming onto my app just because I've launched a new app. That's not the case. You have a marketing team who is helping you to get those users onto the platform. You are
Correct.
taking a
Yeah.
trade-off between the discoverability of the new feature versus whatever was working earlier. All of
Correct.
these nuances get missed a lot. So that misconception that product manager is the only one who is doing things per se is not it needs to be busted, is what the first point as such is, especially on the B2C side of the world.
Right.
Now, the second key difference or second key variation that one needs to look at is in B2B, you are also becoming a salesperson of the product itself. You have to be
Hmm.
part of the solutioning calls, or you have to be doing the pre-sales yourself, or reach out to the customers, create collaterals, and many such things for the marketing of the product and all. While in B2C, you might not be doing all these things directly. You would still be supporting your marketing team with the release notes, with the feature details, and many things on those lines. But at the end of the
Hmm.
day, it's the marketing team or the sales team who are trying to put it across to the customers. And most of the cases, the features are not also publicized as such. You
Yeah.
expect the customer to discover it once they reach the product or once they are on the product as such. The
Yeah.
hook is always going to be, there is a discount on e-commerce platform, or this is a new phone or new device that's being launched, or there is a new movie that is coming up on a particular platform. Once they come, the hook is either the product that they're looking for or the movie that they're looking for. But once they come is when the discovery actually happens for these
Happens. Yeah.
features. Not
Hmm.
that you are publicizing these features as such. While in B2B, you do publicize them via your blog post, your content that's being created. So these two are the major discoverability side of the things.
Hmm.
Last but not the least, from a execution or feedback loop standpoint,
Hmm.
your B2B tend to be very much what do you call, I would say, very much strict with the expectations that they have. If you are trying to say, I'll automate everything in the world, or I am automating a particular process flow, unless you're
Correct.
meeting their standards, they won't accept it ever. But B2C on that front could be slightly lenient, as long as you're adding some value to them. They'll still forgive you for a while and give you a chance to improve faster. So
Right.
the iterations can be faster on B2C.
Right, right. Just want to build on top the same last thing that you said, right? I mean, if we conclude it in a way that the product metrics for both the segment is also different in
Correct.
terms of the success if you want to measure,
Absolutely.
right? So if you want to just measure the scalability part of it, then the B2C is the good part for you, right? Good space to be in for you.
Correct.
And if retention is the good thing for you, then I guess it's a B2B side that you can go around, right?
So just one point, retention is important lever for both the sides of the business, agnostic to whether it
Absolutely.
is B2B or B2C. The only challenge that you tend to see on B2C is, or it is a biggest problem in terms of retention, because in B2B, once the customer is logged in, generally they tend, since you have contracts, you have long cycles of implementation, people also do, resist the change management. In
Exactly.
B2C, that's not the case. So you need to work a lot harder in B2C to retain the customer once they are on the application, by
Correct.
giving him or her much more value over time as well.
Makes sense. Makes sense. Absolutely. Let's deep dive into the process of the product management, right? And I want to drive the conversation a bit on the AI side now, right? Because that's a hot topic in the
Sure.
market, and also there are a lot of things happening very rapidly, right? If you as a product manager, right, needs to leverage AI in some or the other way, right, in your day-to-day work life, right, what would be that approach you would take as a new product manager, right? And how it's going to impact the overall product development process, and how do you measure that at the end?
Sure. So I'll divide into two parts. The
Okay.
first is for a new product manager or any person. Frankly, I would say product sense and leveraging AI tools is agnostic to the role
Two
that you are
different
playing.
things.
Ideally, everyone should be learning them and playing around with these tools and experimenting out and see how it adds value to their own lives and the lives of their customers. Now,
Right.
coming to the product managers, the first thing I would suggest is get started with any tool. It doesn't matter whether it is Claude, ChatGPT, Gemini, so on and so forth that are there. There are hundreds of tools that are available for each
Yeah.
aspect that you are working on, and use them as your guide for learning a new domain that you are entering into. Let's say if you are getting into a new space, OTT space itself as an example,
Yeah,
and you
yeah.
don't know about OTT, you need not wait for someone to actually take you through your onboarding flow and onboarding process and all to help you explain things. Rather, you can understand about the domain by yourself by using these tools, or you use YouTube and any other tool for that matter, right? The key aspect is, one, start getting accustomed with these tools is the first thing. Second, start seeing how you can actually use them for your activities day in and day out. So
Okay.
now if you look at the day in the life of a product manager, first thing is, one, understanding what customers are saying about my product, what can I do to improve it or help them better. Second, understand what is happening in the industry in general, or across the industries, that I can apply here so that I can actually start adding more value to my customers.
Is it fair to say that on the brainstorming side you can leverage these
Absolutely.
models?
Absolutely.
Okay.
So, brainstorming and even cross pollination to some extent. By cross pollination, I mean, most of the times what happens is, let's say a concept that was used in retail, like a sachet pricing, can still be applicable for your OTT platform also.
Right.
Or a concept like delayed differentiation, which is used in supply chain, is also applicable for how you are storing data in your CDNs for the content distribution network. So thing is, understanding what can be learned or used from other industries into your current industry that you are working on is
Correct.
also a good way of knowing, okay, this could be a different way of approaching a given problem. So using ChatGPT or any such tools to actually ask it to be an expert in certain industry and get their insights on how they would solve such a given problem is a great way of figuring out those alternatives or brainstorming as well. Second, the role playing side of things as well, as in, you are asking the model to actually put on the hat of the CEO of the company that you're working with, or
Correct.
Steve Jobs for that matter, assuming you are looking on something which is more aesthetically or something great as such. So then it does that decently well, and you get some insights which you might not be thinking about. So brainstorming any day, this is a great tool, but more importantly, even use it for a reviewer mode also, which is,
Okay.
let's say you've written a user story, a PRD, or anything related, or product roadmap document. You've created all of them. Now you don't know how your engineers are going to read this, or
Correct.
how they are going to perceive this. What is that their understanding going to be once they go through it, or how is your leadership team going to read this and understand and give the feedback upon. So it might be better to put their personas, what is that they might be looking into as a context, and ask ChatGPT to give as a feedback as well.
Right.
That also starts helping you to understand, okay, these are some 5 scenarios that I missed out. How
Correct.
can I incorporate in my flow so that it gives a comprehensive view to all the stakeholders that I am working on.
Right.
Obviously it won't be 100% there.
Right.
You would still get great feedback from your team members who are looking at the best interest of the product that you're working on. But still, earlier, let's say if you were getting 50 feedback pointers, now it might trim down to 25, and they'll also start understanding, okay, this is the quality that I'm looking for as well. So the quality of your documentation also starts going up.
Makes sense. But for the person who do not want to move completely from that traditional way of working to this uh, AI workflow, let's say, right? They still want to do everything on their own,
Sure,
right?
sure.
But I personally think that that's not going to be the way moving forward, right? What is your take on that?
I would put it this way, right? The earlier when Excel came up, or any such tools came up, even Word documents and PowerPoint presentations and all, there was still a change management that was needed, or people had to adopt them to realize the value that these tools were adding into their lives.
Right.
The same thing here, people started realizing it already to a great extent. Some of them are using it, some of them still trying to dabble around and see whether to use it or not. But
Yeah.
over time, it becomes a by default or de facto thing. Now,
But
there's
many also have started thinking about the data privacy can be breached as well,
absolutely
right? That's a
correct.
major threat that they have in mind.
Correct. So that is a bigger challenge out there, and many businesses have started giving Copilot licenses to their employees. So since they are already on the Outlook stack, so integrating them with Copilot and all is helping them out in
To build
to
that trust value.
overcome the trust issue
Factor.
with respect to the data being shared or privacy issues coming up over time. The
Right.
other way is few of the companies have even started deploying tools like Glean and all, which are like the internal knowledge bank optimization tools and all, which are basically nothing but it is creating, or it is a layer which is an intelligence layer sitting on top of your database, your documents and all, and doing a contextual retrieval of the data. It might not be a
Okay.
humongous assistant, but at least it knows what is happening across your org easily and help you get that data.
And it's just a code that's sitting on your data, right? So
Correct.
you don't have to worry about
The
the
data being
data being
breached.
breached. Yeah.
Exactly. So it is in a way on your clouds per se, and it's
Hmm.
processing things out there. So few of them started doing this, but over time, I think every organization will also figure out there is value and start leveraging the tools as such, or offering those tools.
Absolutely. And yeah, I think that will be the way for the bigger organization anyway, right? Because they can't really afford those kind of a data breach to be happen, right?
Correct.
Great.
And not just these tools, I just wanted to add one key
Sure.
point since you mentioned about the workflow in general. One is brainstorming, user story creations, and things on those lines, but also being able to create those initial wireframes itself.
Hmm.
Many times what happens is the product manager might be envisioning something, and he or she might not be able to draw it out or sketch it out in a way that actually conveys it to their designers also, who can add humongous value on top of it once
Right.
they see what is the direction that the product manager
Or maybe
is
other
looking for.
creative ways of looking at the same problem
Exactly.
statement. Yeah.
So the thing is, with tools like Galileo AI or UiZard and all, you are able to do those things that wherein you are no longer handicapped by your uh, need of learning to sketch well. Rather, you are able to use these tools to do those things and showcase it to people and get initial feedback also quickly, and then improve it with the help of the design team.
Makes sense. But do you also think that if the first level of the action in this entire development process, whether it's a brainstorming or the design solutioning or whatever you call it, right? If we start with the AI, right, then our mind will start working weirdly, right? They will not even
True.
think about many good ideas, right? Because that part is being done by the AI now. So our mind will not really generate a creative ideas later, right? In order to tackle those kind of a problems, so what do you suggest as a solution?
Sure. So actually had a similar challenge as such. What happens is people start using these tools. They just take the problem statement that came their way, put it in ChatGPT, get this output,
Yeah,
and just share it across with the world, which has zero value from their end being added as such.
exactly.
And
It's not even their thoughts in the first place.
exactly.
Hmm.
So the general approach that I suggest is one, create. Okay, so I'll divide two types of problem statement. One where you don't have domain knowledge, you don't have any context about the problem that you're trying to solve, so on and so forth. That is one side of the world, wherein you need to do more research, understand the problem well, understand the customer well, discovery of the problem, customer, so on and so forth needs to happen in a better way.
Right.
Second is you have a understanding of those things, but you don't know how to solve the problem, but you have few ideas in mind.
Yeah.
So in the first case, try understanding about the domain and all using these tools, no problem at all. But more importantly, speak to the customer itself, or the people who are speaking to the customers, if you are not in a state of speaking to the customers directly.
Let's say you have a user research team or something
Correct,
to leverage
exactly.
with.
Who
Yeah.
help a lot with speaking to many people and giving you a consolidated insights into it,
Insights. Yeah.
right? So that is the most important thing, wherein you are still not just relying on these tools directly or without putting much of a thought into it, but you are using them as an initial, instead of starting from zero or start the white paper problem that everyone faces, that okay, how should I get started. It
Correct.
helps you to overcome that, but doesn't mean your user research, your customer discovery or problem discovery are not important. They are much more important now, because you don't know what exactly the problem statement is and how do you solve it. You need to do lot of experimentation, prototyping and all to figure that out also. That's where these tools help you to do it, but the key aspect is you putting in the effort to figure out that problem and the right solution for it.
Right, right.
So
So, is it fair to say that in this entire spectrum of the process, right, do not let AI to do everything by themselves, right? You can
correct.
also outsource the small chunk of that work, right, but not the entire thing. Also, if wherever you get stuck in the process, you can leverage the AI at the same time.
Absolutely. I would say it is okay, people say human in the loop. I would put it this way. It is having AI in the loop or AI as a
Huh,
supporter to help you wherever there might be some aspects that is needed, or something which doesn't need your mind space completely. But
right.
in case, let's say you have 10,000 comments from the customers on the App Store and you want it to be analyzed.
That's a
In that
pretty good
case,
example.
come on, put the data, get those insights, which is still fine. You need not go through all the 10,001
Hmm.
comments that are there, right?
Yeah.
Similarly, you want to analyze the trends of user data and you want to create a Python code on top of it, or you use Excel to analyze the data and all. Still, you can go ahead and use these tools to create those Python scripts and all to get the insights out of it. But it doesn't know, as in the AI systems doesn't know what is that insight that you're looking for. So you need to
Hmm.
figure out, was this is the input that I'm having, this is the output that I'm expecting.
Right.
What magic needs to happen in between, you might not know 100%. It's better you
Exactly.
understand it, but still, as a starting step, it can still help you with that. But you
And
need to
also
own
that
the
that
thing.
builds a confidence as well, right, in the
Exactly.
process itself.
Correct. Absolutely correct. So that's the area. As in, you need not say that okay, AI will take care of everything. It can't, because you don't know what exactly your customer wants. So you please do that experimentations to figure out
Yeah.
what they want. You put in the effort of that. Wherever you need to have some support or so, you can still leverage these tools. But the underlying tenets that is this a problem worth solving? Is this
Hmm.
something that one would pay for? And more importantly, is this the right way of solving the problem? You would need to figure out by the hard work itself.
Right, right. So, since we have discussed about the in this entire AI workflow, if we say, right, we have started from the ideation, brainstorming journey, right? But there are lots of things that goes into until you reach the post launch,
Correct.
right? Let's
Correct.
say even post launch, there are the optimizations as well, right?
Absolutely.
So there are lots of things also comes into the play, right? After this brainstorming, solutioning, right? What are the other areas where AI can really help?
Sure.
A product manager, but not just a product manager also. I think there are lots of things has to do with the design team as well, right? It has to do with the tech team as well.
Absolutely.
So what are those things which where we can leverage AI in order to accomplish the goal?
Sure. So I mentioned about the tools which are helping with the designs, text to design sort of a
Yeah.
platforms earlier.
Hmm.
Those are decent tools, but again, they have provisions to export things into Figma and improve on top of them as need be and create prototypes of it out of it.
Yeah.
The second is there are tools which can help product managers to take these designs or just give prompt and get UIs out of it. Tools like
Hmm.
V0 by Vercel or
Yeah.
Cursor, Bolt, Replete. There are many such tools which are available, which is more of a text to code sort of a
Correct.
platform, which can help you to not wait for everything to be added onto your app for validation.
Hmm.
Publish it off as a sidetrack, see what is the response looking like, and accordingly take it forward as well. So you'll be able to fast track your experimentation process
Yeah.
instead of taking the bandwidth of the engineering team who is trying to
Absolutely.
solve or create a scalable platform as
Let's say
such.
there's a small new feature that you want to roll out, right, quickly and with the, let's say, three or four iterations at the same time, right? That's the best play to leverage AI there.
Correct. So one thing, if the feature is being thought of as a feature within the app and not a standalone thing per se, it would still need some maybe
The
experimentation platform
standardization process from your
process
tech,
of.
from your design and
Correct.
everything.
That would still be needed.
Correct.
Over there, the better approach would be to have a customizable UI over there and help you to do things. But
Hmm.
if you are trying to create a new experience and trying to see if that is gonna work.
Right.
So, for example, if I'm just taking an example of Swiggy, wherein they've started with food delivery, then they came into Instamart as well to deliver groceries, and they
Correct.
are into many such
Services
variations
now. Hmm.
services now.
Yeah.
So thing is, first, if you're doing something like that, you can have a validation done outside and then integrate that into the system itself to test out various user experiences that you might have to give. That's
Correct.
where this prototyping by standalone thing could work well. The other variation is, or other scenario is, you are just circulating it within your company or people you know of, so that you are not still adding it as a feature into your existing app. You're just creating a replica of it or a copy, similar
Version of
experience
it.
version of it, and playing around in a closed user group testing sort of a thing. And once the feedback is there and everything works fine, is when you can actually think of incorporating it as a feature in the app, build the backend and all. Initially, it's just a front end thing that you have created. Then the tech teams also have started using a lot of tools, be it the IDEs itself. Cursor is one of the IDE, which
Okay.
is AI integrated or AI native per se, or GitHub Copilot is again a huge tool which is being used across the industry now to help write code faster, better and all, and at the same time track things also and make it easier for reusing the components and all that are being created by the engineers as well. So even after that, there are tools which are helping with getting the insights from the product analytics and the feedback that's coming from the customers. But the thing is, at least these three stages, which is identifying the problem, figuring out the right solutions, and
Correct.
then productionizing it per se, there is a huge value add for each of the step for leveraging AI.
And I think at the end, after, I mean, post launch, right, there's just a data visualization that you need to analyze, right? So
Correct.
it's pretty easy thing that you do even
So
on a daily basis.
absolutely. Why, I'll just add one key point, which is there's this debate or discussion that happens continuously, which is real-time insights, actionable insights. With the current state of AI tools that are available, you can actually get those actionable alerts and all in a better way as such, so that it becomes meaningful for you also to actually look into, not just stare at the dashboard, but actually know, okay, this is an area that I need to focus upon
Right.
as opposed to something else.
Hidden insights on a
Correct,
real-time basis, right?
correct, correct.
Makes sense, makes sense. So I want to touch upon the another crucial part of this entire workflow, right? Uh, which is, it's not that easy for any team to adapt AI, right? Because they have been working in the industry, not in the same organization, but in the previous organization, they are following the same process so far, right? So it's quite difficult for the entire team to adapt AI, right? There are lots of challenges, right? Even in the brainstorming, if you say, right, in a lot of other areas as well, right? How one should think about in order to overcome those challenges and move ahead and still delivers the same value that they were delivering.
So I'll break it into two buckets. First
Okay.
bucket is the mindset sort of the thing, which is
Yeah. Yeah.
so I follow this one person called Peter Diamandis. He talks about 7 different mindsets one should have, and curiosity mindset as such kind of tops in that list. So thing is, you we all heard the statement, change is the only constant in the world.
Correct. Yeah.
What he says is change is not constant, it is accelerating. Especially with AI coming into play, it is exponential now rather than being accelerating alone.
even
Point is,
even in the history, AI was there, right? I mean,
absolutely
it's not a new concept at all, right?
correct,
But the boom of AI is just recently happened.
exactly.
More and more people started knowing about it now.
Two things. One is it became more democratized as such, and
Hmm.
majorly because now it feels more human.
Hmm.
We anthropomized it a lot by making it speak like humans, and the text data coming
Yeah,
out.
yeah.
So
The
interactions
text over
became
voice and things like that.
exactly. So all of that helped a lot with this. The second part is more to do with it became a consumer product first as opposed to becoming a industry a business product as such. What I
Hmm.
mean is ChatGPT got famous as a consumer product. It is a B2C product which reached 100 million users fastest
Fastest,
till
yeah.
date, right? But earlier applications of AI were more industrial in nature. be it your route
Ah,
optimization, be it your recommendation engines. All of people were not looking for a recommendation engine as such. It is a problem statement for showcasing you the right content that business has tried solving it for, right?
yeah, and big data were only accessible to businesses only, right? There is
Exactly.
no context as a big data for the normal users
Normal
as well.
user at all.
Yeah, yeah,
But with
absolutely.
the entire internet data becoming compressed into an LLM per se,
Hmm.
now it became much more easier or simpler for people to use it and get accustomed with it as well.
Right.
So the thing is, as long as you're stuck or I don't see anyone having should be stuck in that mindset that my processes won't change or can't change. And
Hmm.
frankly, I'm seeing that also in many people I speak to and all, they're very much interested in learning about AI in general
Hmm.
and see
Hmm.
how it can actually add value to their regular processes. Because most of the time, they still are dependent on Excels or so for their regular workflows also,
Correct.
which
Correct.
with a systematic approach could actually become much more simpler if they implement systems around it as such. And that's not necessarily just AI. It could be just a digital transformation or digital system being implemented that can add value. Now with
Right.
AI, they can actually develop everything by themselves, even deploy it off in a server, as long as it is not creating any security or privacy issues as such.
Right.
They can go ahead and do that. That is the opportunity that you are now getting.
Hmm.
So people are actually open with having a lot of open mind for adopting technology is what I've sensed. However, from a change standpoint,
Hmm. Hmm.
what happens is ChatGPT became an overnight success. Hence, people expect any transformation or any adoption of tools become overnight. That's not going to be the case. You would
Right.
not. You will try 10 tools. You will like only two of them. You
Correct.
will try 10 ways of using the same tool. You might like or get stuck with only two or three because those are the ones which would work for you.
It's at the end of the day, it's a use case based
Exactly.
product access, right? I mean, you don't
Correct.
even need another Facebook just for the sake
Sake
of
of
it.
it.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So that's how, if you one from an adoption standpoint, you need that mindset of, okay, let me explore curiously and figure things out.
Yeah.
And second, you be at it for a while so to
Hmm.
understand what works for you and what doesn't. Because it's not going to be on day one that you find, oh, this is gold mine, I will not leave it. That's not going to be the
Right.
case at all, especially for your processes and your context. So
Hmm.
it's more important that you play around with multiple tools and then figure out what works the best for you.
It's like ice cream, I would say.
Correct. Trying out or movies that you like, anything on
Correct.
that matter. You have a specific choice and a perspective on things. So it's better
Hmm.
you build that perspective by trying things out rather than just, let's say, if I say use ChatGPT, does that mean Claude is not great? No, it is.
Yeah.
I might like ChatGPT more than Claude, or I might like Claude more than ChatGPT. It's up to every individual or every organization or the process that's being redesigned as such.
Hmm.
And the other point to note is also, you're not just putting in these tools in your current process. Think of it as reimagining your processes again with AI or any system being in loop. Most
Hmm.
of the time, what happens is people think of it, okay, today I'm doing this, let me continue doing the same. I'll just add this component into it, or I start
Right.
using AI into it. That's not the way you should be looking at it as well.
Hmm. Hmm.
What you
Hmm.
should be looking at it, now that I have this companion or this tool at my disposal, how can I
Hmm.
reimagine my workflow in its totality? That way, the process that I'm designing now is much more better and simpler for me as well as everyone in the organization also.
So yeah, I think you have put it very straight, right? The solution should not look for the problem, right? When you are redefining your process entirely, right, then you should go ground up, right?
Correct.
Then and only way you will really optimize and get the value out of it.
Absolutely correct.
Otherwise, it will be just solution is there.
Old wine in a new bottle sort of a scenario. Yeah.
As you rightly said, right? I mean, there are lots of AI tools are coming, right? It's not just about products that are being built for the consumers only, but products are being built for the product builders also,
Correct.
right? To optimize their processes, getting the better outcome and things like that, right? What do you think will be the future workflow of a product manager with AI first approach in the future?
I'll divide it into the core product role or product offering, or what problem one is solving will still remain the same, right? You are there to add value to your customers consumers or stakeholders that you are working with. That as a tenet stays there. There's no change in that.
Okay.
However, with being AI first, what you're trying to do is you are increasing the rate of prototyping or rapid experimentation into play, figure out whether the problem is worth solving, right approach, and value being created out of it from a business sense, as in whether I'll make money out of it at a lesser amount, lesser effort,
Efforts.
or
Huh.
get higher ROIs out of it. So that is one area that you will get better at, which is you being able to do faster prototyping and experimentation. That is one key space which every product manager would
Go
have to
through.
get into per se.
Yeah.
Second is, I would say that we are entering an era of full stack professionals, be it product managers or designers or anyone. They
Yeah.
would own a particular area in its totality, and that problem statement in itself, and solve it from not just solving it but also selling it. So you would have heard this anecdote of Airbnb merging their product marketing and product team into one, and
Together and
together
removing the product managers. That was the
as a
myth, I
concept.
guess.
Correct.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's not about product manager being removed or anything. It is
Correct.
basically, if you are building a product, better be able to sell it, is the
Correct.
final thing that's coming up, right? So thing is, does that mean the product managers have to start selling everything that they are making? It again is a very contextual thing. If you are in a B2B scenario, obviously you are still doing it. But in B2C, you might have to do it depending upon the use case that or company that you are in. But that's the direction that you are headed in, wherein you understand every aspect of the value chain for your customer and are trying to solve problems over there. Does that mean we don't have specialists in the areas? No, that's not the case at all. You will still need specialists to help you out, but as a product manager, you understand every nuance from starting to the end. Okay, this is was the problem that I'm trying to solve. These are the various solutions that we tried. This is the one which is giving results at this moment, and this is the money. This is how I'm making money. Then comes the next part: how do I keep improving it? So this
But
entire loop is
hmm.
something that one have to look into or maintain as such.
Right, right. But if that's said, right, then what will be the success metric of adapting a AI workflow, right? By that, what I meant is, if you need the same team, right, same design team, same tech team, and same marketing team as
Okay,
well, right, in
perfect.
the future,
Hmm,
right,
hmm, hmm.
then the metric has to be different also, right? Because you are actually improving the efficiency of this entire production, correct?
Correct.
So for the future AI workflow, what will be those metrics that we are chasing in the future?
It would still see, at the end of the day, the way I see it, any metric that you take into account are just three things that you're trying to do. One is either you're increasing your revenue, reducing
Correct.
the cost. In some cases, you're increasing your engagement as such, which also can be mapped to one of these two. Right now,
Okay.
adopting AI is basically making the whole statement of learn fast, fail fast sort of a thing into a reality.
Hmm.
That way, you are now not trying just one thing or 10 things, because your team's
Okay.
bandwidth allows you to do only those 10. Now you are
Hmm.
trying 100 things or 10,000 things, depending upon how
The
you are
capacity you
leveraging
are
it.
in.
Correct. What
Hmm.
capacity you are in and what problem area to space you are in.
Hmm.
Because in mining, you might not have 10,000 variations that you need to handle per se. But in case of an Instagram sort of a use case or a
Hmm.
consumer product use case, you might still have those many variations that you might want to experiment out with. So with that being the case, the point is now you are learning faster. So
Correct.
that's what will add value to you over time. From a metric standpoint, again, the traditional metric still holds good,
Remains the same.
remains the same. You would
Hmm.
either improve your revenue, reduce cost, or increase engagement. If
Correct.
you're not doing these three, there is some issue. Now, but
That's the issue even in the today's
current
game, if
world
you
also.
say.
So those
Yeah.
three are not going to change at all.
At
The
all.
only thing is the rate at which you can know about how I can increase this by X%
Hmm.
is
Hmm.
what
Hmm.
you will learn better, faster with these tools that are at your disposal.
So let's zoom out a little bit, right? And I just want to talk about your current role in the Z Entertainment, right? You may have seen the from last couple of years there have been the change because of the AI in the content consumptions also. But I'm not talking about the user side of the content consumption, but on the business side of things, right? There might be a lot of other ways also that businesses are also learning how to leverage AI in order to understand this trends early on. If you can help us understand with some examples on, how you would have understood some trends and have changed the game for you.
I'll divide again two parts. One is the consumer side and the business side,
Business
the way
side,
you
sure,
said.
sure, sure.
On the consumer side, the biggest trend is the reduction in attention spans and
Okay.
the rise of reels that we all know of. But now there have been platforms from China and all which are creating the entire movies as portrait mode short videos. So they have
Okay.
60 episodes of 1 minute each or 150 episodes of 1 minute each, making it a 150-minute movie.
Hmm.
But each reel is just a minute video. At the end of every video, you have a hook to ensure that
There's
you will
another video
open
you
to the
have to
next
watch.
one and you
Yeah.
will have to watch it for sure. So
Okay.
the content creation itself is changing drastically, that you are earlier, if you look at it, you have a 22-minute episode or
Hmm.
a 1 hour episode, depending upon which platform that you are watching content on. You have a cliffhanger at the end of every episode. So
Hmm.
you're not worried about what is happening in
In
the
between.
in between.
Hmm.
You'll obviously have good content over there, no doubt about
I
it.
mean,
But
engagement will
still,
be anyway there on the entire
entire
spectrum.
spectrum. But for
Hmm.
you to come back, you need that hook for you to get back in the next episode.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
now you are having to create that hook for every minute,
Correct.
which drastically changes the way you think of creating the content itself.
For the same product offering also,
Absolutely.
right?
Correct.
Hmm.
So even for and again, if you have to ensure that okay, this is available in 100 languages, just because I need to, I have presence in 100 countries, and I need to support 100 languages. Again, that's not a straightforward thing, because if you do a manual dubbing or subtitling, it
Correct.
is a costly affair for every language that you are trying to translate it into.
And every single slot cut has to be according to that language
Exactly.
as well, right? It can't be cut in
Correct.
between and
Correct.
just
The
roll
timing
it
being
out.
synchronized, all
Correct.
these becomes challenges that, and AI helps in these things pretty well, because now it became a general technology which understands hundreds of languages by itself. Uh,
Correct.
though there are challenges, I won't say it is great at what it's doing currently, but it
Hmm.
obviously gets, it's learning
Better
and it
and
will get
better.
better day by day.
Correct.
The second part is from a consumer standpoint again, is there is no boundary of language that is existing, again because of dubbing is one part, and even subtitling is one thing which is making the localization of content much better.
Hmm.
But because of COVID and all, people started exploring content in other languages irrespective of whether they have subtitles or not,
Huh.
just to know okay, what is the story going to be. And
Correct.
that's why you would see a lot of K dramas and all also picking up a lot more in Indian
India.
geography, or
Huh.
Indian content picking up in other countries as such, happening now much better or in a great way. So these two are the major things, which is you are no longer restricted with the language that your mother tongue is, or the languages that you know. Second, you expect the content to be so hooky or so interesting that it keeps you latched onto it continuously, and you are not dropping off. So that's majorly on the consumer side.
Hmm.
These two again obviously are applicable on the business side for sure, which is you being able to create such content
Right.
and understand the behavior of the user, why a user is. So if you look at the analysis of many YouTubers also today,
Right.
the first thing that they see is they do a minute by minute analysis of where the users are dropping
Dropping
off,
off. Yeah.
and accordingly figure out okay, why is someone dropping over here.
Hmm.
So there's one very interesting podcast of Mr. Beast and Sam and Colin, Samir and Colin channel, where he articulates this very well, saying I don't just create content, I have to analyze it at a minute
Very
by minute
well.
level to
Hmm.
understand what works and what doesn't work. Like for reels or shorts, it's expected that the first 3 seconds should hook a person, else they will move ahead.
Correct. Correct.
So all these things are coming from the data itself. Does that mean we just rely on data? No, not necessarily, but it is a great source of knowing what works and what doesn't work, and accordingly improve your content creation in itself. Now, the on the
Hmm.
business side, the other part is the entire workflow being optimized itself also helps a lot, because you have content which, so at the end of the day, it's the same content, right? You are creating
Yeah.
one movie, and that movie is being showcased in theaters. Over time, it would come onto OTT platforms. It would be broadcasted on the linear TVs that we have in our homes,
Correct.
on the dish and all,
Traditional stuff.
traditional channels, and you also get those on YouTube as shorts and many other distribution channels. So
Hmm.
how do you ensure that the content that you are getting is appropriately optimized for each of the channels,
Hmm.
and ensure that you are getting engagement across all the channels, becomes a
Hmm.
very big problem statement for anyone. And that being worked upon as a workflow from an omni-channel standpoint
Correct.
is a key area where AI again helps out with deciding, okay, this is how this content might work well in YouTube, this, or creating those shorts automatically instead of you having to do it manually.
Hmm.
Say it automatically creates summaries for your episodes that you are creating.
Right.
Creating if it is a live match, then capturing those key moments. Let's say someone is doing a dive and a catch, and
Correct.
you ideally want to capture that as a key moment and showcase it to the audience, because that's something that people would want to watch again and again.
Yeah.
So all of these are possible with tools like tools that are available right now with AI.
Makes sense. Makes sense. Is there any downside of adapting this workflow when you say that, in the analyzing a content from a movie to a shorts, right? Analyzing a cricket use case per se, right? Is there any cons for this moment entirely that you personally feel, or you think that that's a better way of doing stuff now?
I would say we are moving from a age of information, or to age of curation. What I mean by that
Okay.
is we are overloaded with a lot of data and information. Now we are
Hmm.
trying to curate it and make it as specific to a particular user as possible. Now, this is one of the ways of making that possible, because I don't want to sit and watch the entire 2.5 hour match
Absolutely.
while I know this is the highlight of it per se. Does that mean someone who is a cricket fan shouldn't watch a match? Not at all,
Yeah.
because match has many moments, and it is a bond that you would have with that particular team that's being
It's a
expressed.
emotional
It's an
connect.
emotional connect.
Yeah.
But for someone who is not a huge fan but is still keen on knowing what happened as an interesting thing, for him
Mhm.
or her this becomes a interesting way of getting into that
Right.
space, right? So what I'm trying to put across is it is uh, everything would have their pros and cons. It's just about what is suitable for a particular user or a particular use case
Hmm.
is what that would matter the most. So if I'm able
Hmm.
to curate content well for a particular user and helping him or her find that content better, which suits their interests,
Yeah.
then that's a win for me in that way.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I just want to move to completely different paradigm now, right? Uh, if you are looking for hiring someone, right, at a senior level or at a lead level product manager, right, irrespective of which organization you are in, right, what are your curated framework for to look for a I what I meant is, what is your curated framework so that you can identify the right skill set from a person?
I'll divide into three major buckets.
Hmm.
One is uh, what I call as V versus I, which is
Okay.
most of the time, one, okay, before even I jump into it, the key thing is skills, I think, uh, are learnable as long as you are interested in that space and the problem that you're trying to
Yeah.
solve for. So you'll be able to pick them up as such. But
Hmm.
what is important is you having those core things which are not easily identifiable during an interview or a discussion in general, which more like ownership, more
Hmm.
like teamwork and all. These matter the most, as opposed to you being you having an Einstein level intellect.
Hmm.
That is the first thing that I generally try figuring out if I could get a sense of these things. And
Got
how do
it.
you get them? See, most of the people, when they answer also, someone starts saying, I did these things. Some
Hmm.
people start saying, we did this thing.
Absolutely. Because
There
it's
you
not going to be a just a one person
correct.
work at the end.
Some people maybe say I, just because they want to showcase I have done this, that which is also fine. But once you grill one or two more times, which is
Hmm.
what is that you've done, what is there a team that worked on it and all, you
Correct.
get a sense that okay, this person, I contributed this, there are 10 other people who helped me achieve whatever is the outcome that you
Even
are
even
achieving.
that is also fine, right? If someone have started with I and then slowly
Exactly.
break it down, that bifurcating to the teamwork,
Correct.
this thing that team have worked upon, this thing is that team other team have worked
Correct.
upon.
So that is welcoming in a move as such, because
Exactly.
you're giving the recognition of the effort put in by your team members.
Hmm.
So the first thing is being able to do that or get a sense of it is what I generally look for.
Okay.
The second key area is their problem solving approach in general. Product
Okay.
managers, I would say, are more horizontal in nature. You need to have domain knowledge. I'm not discounting that at all, because if you are in fintech, obviously you need to understand the compliance needs that you need to
Very
ensure.
well.
Exactly. But does that mean the problem solving approach changes from domain to domain? Not necessarily. Your constraints and objectives might change a bit, but broader level frameworks that you tend to use will remain more or less the same.
Same.
Now, what is that approach that you are taking for solving a particular problem? Are you trying to, again, I would not say you have to be 100% data driven and all. It is a fair mix of both is what would matter. But let's say, just as an example, if you are trying to look for a person who is expected to create an entire gamification experience, or change the entire workflow that we were talking of, as in the
Yeah.
awards need to be created, or reels being created automatically and all.
Correct.
Now, for that person, if a problem statement is how do you go about it, let's say, if they don't mention anywhere that I'll actually go and sit with the current person who is doing or creating these reels, then by default you know that okay, you are not very clear on what the consumer or the user is going to need as such.
Absolutely.
That should be the first thing that one should be even doing. So in
As
consulting
and
world,
as a product manager, I feel that your core job is to understand the
correct,
problem first, right? I mean,
absolutely,
solutioning and other things are, you already have the respected team for it, right? So they will
exactly,
anyway figure it out.
correct,
Yeah.
absolutely correct.
Yeah.
So the understanding what the customer problem is or user problem as such is, and trying to solve them. In case of B2C, it is slightly different, which is more to do with the ideations that you can come up with and all. But the framework is more or less the same, that okay, this is the problem, these are the ways of solving it. We'll
Right.
figure out how do we go about it subsequently.
Correct. Correct.
The third area that I generally look for is to do with their sense of interest in this particular domain or in this area that they are trying to join for.
Correct.
Why does that problem even resonate with you? Because one thing is, unless your why is clear and what is also clear to some extent, you won't be able to figure out the how.
Yeah.
You need to be very much clear on, okay, why am I even doing it?
Correct. Correct.
It can be as simple as I find that domain interesting. Okay, I get it, but still one or two level of questions help you get a sense of it.
Correct.
Because if your why is not resonating with the company's why or the problem that you're trying to solve, you won't be able to stick to the lows that you would face in it. Not
Correct.
every experiment of yours is going to be a success. Not every product release that you're going to drive will be delivering the outcomes that you ideally would expect.
Correct.
So
Correct.
those are the hard challenges that you would face subsequently. And unless you are resonating with the underlying value that you're delivering to the customer or the problem that you're solving, you would never be able to continue on that ship as such.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I think it's fair to say that before you move, before you migrate to any new city, right? Have you done your due diligence to understand the city first or not, right? You have to
Exactly.
understand the
Exactly.
culture, the way of working, the space, the transport, and everything, right?
Correct.
Otherwise, it doesn't make sense to even migrate in the first place.
Correct.
Great, great. So Harsha, anything else that you want to share with our audience as a learning resources that you really admire, right? It can be book, it can be movie, it can be anything that really helped you.
So I would say th- two things. One is check out the podcast by Peter Diamandis, which is called Moonshots and Mindsets. That's a
Right.
beautiful podcast. You get to know everything under the sun from there, and it's a great learning resource. And there is another podcast called as Practical AI and No Prayers. These
Okay.
are great resources for learning who want to delve deeper into the AI side of the world. These are good resources as such. Uh, the other piece I would say is experiment with these tools, but note one thing: these tools might still hallucinate. There might be still issues, so please be wary of those things. And don't
Right.
just think that AI will be there and you need to do nothing, or it will just
Just
solve every
automate
problem,
everything. It
everything.
won't
That's
going to
not the
happen.
case at all.
Yeah.
So please don't unnecessarily jump and think Gen AI is the solution for everything. It is not.
Yeah.
So learn with it, play with it, try
Hmm.
adopting as much as possible where you think it's more valuable to you.
Awesome, awesome. Great. We come to the end. So thank you, Harsha, for joining today. It was a really decent conversation that I had. I enjoyed a lot. Hope our audience feel the same.
Great. Thanks a lot for the opportunity, and I hope everyone likes this and shares the feedback, who they'll take some takeaways from it.
For sure, for sure. We'll ask our audience in case any of you guys have any questions or queries that you want to ask to Harsha, drop the comment below this video and we'll get it answered by Harsha.
Absolutely. Love to.
Yeah, awesome.
Cool.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Our main goal with this podcast is to bring insightful conversation to help you grow in your career by inviting leaders who are driving impact at scale. If you find this episode useful, make sure you subscribe because that only helps us to invite incredible guests for the future episodes. And in case you have any suggestions about who we should invite and what all topic we should cover, let us know in the comment section below. We are always listening to make sure we deliver exactly what you are looking for.